All right, let's go to Pablo here. Pablo, you are up next, sir. All right, where you playing out of here?
Turning Stone.
Turning Stone. Turning Stone. My buddy Josh, the firefighter
Hmm.
from this area, he's giggling because I have a family, right? And he's like, "Are you coming with me to Turning Stone for the tournament?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude. Like, yeah. Are we gonna share a room? How about we share a bed?" Is that
So is
three?
he out here now?
I think he's going. Like, what is it? Is there some big tournament coming up?
There's 2 weeks of there's a whole WSOP series. So
Right, right. Is that the first? Is that the first time they've done a circuit there? Or?
I think this is the third year in a row that they've done one.
Well, I went to Syracuse for college. I always tell this story. Like, I remember going to Turning Stone before they had poker. I went to Turning Stone on my 18th birthday when I was a freshman in college. I took the bus from Syracuse bus terminal. Talk about it.
Oof.
Yeah, it's not the best place to be in.
No, it's not.
And to go play blackjack, and I won $400, and the gambling seed was planted. I took the bus to Turning Stone at least 10 times my freshman year. They started poker, I think, maybe right around the time I think Rounders happened. So, 99, 2000, something like. Of course, there was no limit. And then I went and played back over at Poker Night America. But the drive, if anybody knows, the drive from Boston to like upstate New York is just terrible. 5-hour drive of nothingness. But sorry, all right, I digress. So, all right, Turning Stone, are you playing 2-5 or what?
It's a 1-3 match to stack.
All right, so 1-3 match stack. How deep are you guys?
In this hand, we're 1K effective, but there's some strange stuff going on. So we've been doing some straddles, and we have two fun players at the table. They've been drinking. It's like 1:30 a.m. They're having a good time, and they want to double straddle, but it's not allowed. So we've been doing a round of blind $12 after the straddle.
Right, because they won't give the second guy the option, right?
Correct. Right.
Okay, so it's like 1-3-6-12,
Right.
but only the six is live.
Correct. So the 12, if people would just call 12, there's no option for the $12 blind bet there.
And you said you were 1,000 effective.
Yeah, with this main villain.
So that's actually making the game somewhat shallow. Now, one of the things I notice about live play though too is that people don't. I don't know if the game's always 1-3-6-12 or you're just doing a round.
No. This is very rare. Like these guys just wanted, put some more dead money in the pot.
Right.
We just did it to accommodate them because they're having fun. We want them to have fun. So
it's a weird thing that I see a lot of times in like outlier extreme straddle situations in live poker where people will sometimes like revert to playing somewhat passively because the stakes have gone up a lot and take hands that they would normally raise and limp with them. Mm-hmm. And then you have to make the adjustment that you have to understand that if someone's getting it all in for 1,000 in a 1-3-6-12 setup, sure, it's less than 100 big blinds, but that it's not less than 100 big blinds in their mind.
Right. It's still $1,000.
Especially if sometimes the game's just playing 1-3. So you have to make that adjustment that, oh, yeah, maybe it's a stronger range than what would be 90 big blinds in a certain scenario.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So 1-3-6 plus 12. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Seven-handed. We're 1K effective with the one of the fun players. He bought him for 2K. Within an hour, he lost 1,000 just splashing around. So in this hand, it folds to us in the small blind. And we have 9 of hearts, 9 of spades. We raise to 40. And in this spot, in retrospect, I should have gone a little bit bigger, I feel like. But I didn't look at his 12 as a raise. I almost looked at it as a fourth blind or something. So, but still, I think I should have gone to maybe like 55, 60.
So it gets folded to you in the small blind, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're playing seven-handed, there's only really 2 folds, right, in front of you.
Yeah.
2 folds in front of you. You're next in the small blind, and you go to 40 with 4 people to the left that are in blinds. But some blinds are larger and smaller than others, like 1-3-6-12. And you go to 40. I don't really mind the sizing though that much, to be honest with you, because like those guys in the middle can't really call. I mean, you just want to get the heads up here with this guy in the straddle,
right?
Now, if you're saying like he's playing any 2 and he's going to defend with any 2, then you could go larger just for pure value. But I think it's fine.
Yeah, so we go 40 and it folds to the $12 blind. And this is the fun player who's been drinking loud, having fun. He raises us to 150. I mentioned this hand to a couple people, and they're like, "You should just rip it, rip it pre." And I was like, "I don't think that's
I
necessary."
think it really depends on how there's different types of maniacs and different types of drunks.
Hmm.
I mean, there are guys that are just wild as fuck and they just want to play like super maniacal and they're just
Right,
splashing around. Maybe you find a jam and you're happy with it. But then remember, they can just call though too
right.
with a lot of like medium strength hands. So, and then could you ever, I mean, it sounds to me like you never even considered folding.
No, 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 no,
No, never considered folding.
no, no. But I don't want to. I don't want to jam either because I feel like he's never calling. I don't think he's ever calling with like deuces through eights. More than likely, it's a flip or we're dominated. So I just want to play post flop, and I feel like the way he's been playing, he's capable of making like mistakes post flop. I just called the 150.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to get on you for that. So you call, but you can definitely get into some dicey scenarios here too. And one of the things too, I don't know if this guy had been doing this, but it looks like the pot's going to be like, I don't know, like 320. We'll just call it like 320 when you call.
Hmm.
And, obviously you're going to have like 850 left. Sometimes with older guys, you see this a lot in tournaments. This becomes harder to play against guys that just bomb any flop, like in tournaments. So yeah, it becomes very, very hard to play when people just bomb any, if you're going to face like a pot size bet, like on a jack high board, it's like, what am I going to do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know how this guy was necessarily playing, but it just reminded me of situations, especially like weekend warrior type tournaments, like at the WSOP, because that was pretty much the only time I play in tournaments. You have to defend less often when it's close against guys that are just going to take pot sizing. And there's still a lot of guys that do that. Now, obviously this is a cash game, but I'm just saying. But okay, so the pot's 320, and what's the flop here?
All right. So the flop is eight of hearts, seven of hearts, three of diamonds.
8 of hearts, 7 of hearts, 3 of diamonds. Well,
Yeah, pretty good flop for nines, I would say.
I mean, yeah, and then it's really just going to depend on, if he takes large sizing, you just get it in, right? I mean, you don't want to. I don't think you'd even want to screw around. Value/protection, I would think.
Right. So naturally, we check to the villain, and he actually takes a really small sizing. Well, he takes a 1/3. He goes 100.
I'm gonna call him double DS. That's 100. So if you call only, the pot will be 520, and you guys will have like 750 left. You've got 9 of hearts, 9 of spades. It's interesting. Again, it's one of these things where right off the cuff, like if I had, if I wanted to know what optimal was, and this is not an optimal type of show necessarily, I would find it curious. Maybe Nate will know, or run GTO Wizard like on the corner here. It's a tough little, no, maybe it's not a tough little conflict. I guess you could just like make it like small blind versus big blind at like 90 big blinds. At what hands start to get check raised here for value at the stack depth in a 3-bet pot? I mean, you still have depth. Like, the pot's going to be 520 and you'll have 750 left, but it can get, you could call now and then you pretty much have to decide if he bets again here on the turn, whether or not you're going to either release or go with it for the most part. But there also are times where you're allowed to check raise some hands. Maybe nines aren't quite good enough. Maybe if it was like jacks, queens, although nines does need protection. But once you start to get to that cusp, whatever the better hands that you're not 4-betting auto in this configuration start to get check raised. But nines might not be there.
So even like nines with with the 9 of hearts, clearly it blocks like, jack 9 hearts, which I don't think he's 3-betting he might, but like 9-10 of heart. But is it better to have the heart here, you think, because of like?
Well, it's better for yeah, slightly better, but you're still always going to continue. Yes, if you wanted to choose a combination of nines, yeah, it would be better to have 9 hearts. But I think a more applicable, or what you should be thinking about more is, okay, what actually is check raised here as for protection/value? And I think it draws from the best hands that are not 4-bet.
Okay.
And I don't think are you four betting queen queen here?
Versus this guy, yeah.
Okay, so maybe jack jack.
Yeah, Jack, Jack, 10, 10, maybe.
Did you just call?
Yeah, we just called.
All right, so hero calls. And it's 520. And like I said, you guys have about 750-ish left, right? Okay. Mm-hmm.
So the turn is the three of spades. So it's 8-7-3-3.
Three of spades. Oh, here we go. Nate in the live chat says 9-9 is a half check raise and half call. So there you go. So partials. Well, I mean, this is a pretty big blank, right?
Yeah, it's a great card.
Yeah.
So naturally, I check again, and villain decides to check back. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, because I mean, any hand here, unless he's playing some sort of weird trap, I mean, this is one of the biggest bricks in the deck. I mean, I suppose you could have 3x of hearts, so maybe it's not as big as a brick as like a black deuce.
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that, but it goes check, check. And actually, too, if you've been with me for this live stream, you remember what I said at the top of the show, guys, about the fourth caller here? Because this one's what I find interesting here at the end. So it's 8-7-3 in a 3-bet pot. You've got nines. He takes 1/3. You check call. Turns a 3. 8-7-3-3. Check, check. Okay, what's the river?
The river is the three of hearts.
So it puts trips out there.
Yeah, so it's 8-7-3-3-3.
8-7-3-3-3. Oh, this one's a little bit different. Did I not catch it in the email that this was trips out there? Oh, okay. That's interesting because that definitely changes things. I was thinking about something a little bit different, but
So what were you thinking before?
well, I was thinking that. So I know. So not to ruin it, but you're planning out coming in actually planning on coming in block and basically making kind of a small bet for value here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right, because of the fact that the guy checked behind, right, on the turn. And you're like, oh, maybe I can get called by ace-high. Is assuming what I'd be thinking if I were you, right?
Yes.
The problem is that it's a heart that came in at the end, even though it's weird because it's a tripped up board. So if he was thinking about trying to make some sort of hero call with hearts here, if he's trying to make some sort of hero call with ace-high, he still loses to hearts.
Right.
And for some reason, I thought the river was like, say, like the deuce of hearts. And you kind of came out and made a block bet, and then he raised you.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Because say the river's the deuce of hearts and you make a block bet and he raises you, that would like really put my spidey senses up of like, this could just be like, a bare ace of hearts type of play here.
Right.
With the way that this is played. However, because it's trips, why would someone raise the river with the ace of hearts? You know what I'm saying? Like it becomes irrelevant. But I would still bet here if I were you. Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So river's a three of hearts, and so we lead out small. I block bet for a 15% pot. I bet 75. Like I said, targeting ace highs, sometimes king highs, because this guy's just he's playing a little loose. Might look me up a little bit light.
So you're trying to get called by some ace highs here, right?
Yeah.
Hero bets 70. Do you see what I'm talking about though? That like, it just would be better if like the 3 was like a club here.
Mm-hmm.
Because then if the 3 is a club, he can hero you with off trying to like beat busted hearts, right?
Yeah.
Here, he doesn't beat busted hearts with a non-paired hand, unfortunately. Right.
I mean, and also this is not a line that I would take 100%. It's just very dependent on who I'm playing against. And in this case, I feel like this guy is capable of doing some really crazy shit at this point. So yeah, we took a small sizing.
By the way, I think there's something else that, again, people really need to pay attention to here. Because I see some people, again, one of our content creators, Nate, saying that sometimes you can just open rip here, but people probably don't defend enough. Here's the key, probably the most important part of this hand. When I look at this whole hand setup and what this is sort of amounted to, I think the most important part of this hand is his flop sizing. His flop sizing of 1/3 means that you will get to the river with more backdoorish types of hands that might need to turn them into bluffs. Now, people don't usually think that deeply at this level, but it is, if you want to be a real good poker player, that's the thing. Because if he bets pot and you call, if you guys are deeper, he goes 2/3 and you call, all those hands are out the window.
Right.
But when he bets really small on the flop, and again, for you guys out there that are in the villain's position and they take a 1/3 sizing, you have to understand that you have to defend down lighter on the river when you check back the turn after taking 1/3 sizing on the flop, because more backdoor hands will be forced to bluff at the end. So the flop sizing here of your opponent, the flop c-bet sizing in the 3-bet pot, I think is the critical factor here. Now, in terms of your sizing of 75, maybe you could still get called going a little bit. Well, I don't know if I would ever, 75, unless you were trying to induce. If you're just trying to make value here, I might go 100 to 120 or something.
Yeah, I think it would. It's the villain's probably indifferent between 75 and 120 as far as getting called for that. But it's also slightly to potentially induce a bluff from this guy, which actually does happen. I don't know, not that he's bluffed, but he raises to 500, so puts us in a little spot here. Yeah, and he bet pretty quick too.
Well,
and threw a purple chip.
I'll tell you, I mean, even walking through all this stuff, I'll actually sum it up pretty quickly. It's not going to take me much thought here. If he's drunk and he checked back the turn, did he check back the turn pretty quickly too?
Yeah.
Yeah. If he's drunk and he checked back the turn, what he's really representing here is if he had like aces or like 8s full or 7s full or something like that. I don't buy it. I think you induced this play. But I would be way more concerned if you bet 200 and he jammed. I just think that he might just think like this is a bullshit bet. So I would snap this off. I don't know if I would find the $75 bet here at the end, but the more I think about it and the way that this went down, you might see a guy check back like aces or kings for a little deception on the turn, but a drunk, like, they're not going to be thinking about at that many levels. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this guy wanted to push action. He wanted to do the blind 12. If he had an overpair, he was betting every street without a doubt. So, like, had he bet the turn, I clearly just check back river, depending on his sizing. If he goes big on the turn, I might fold.
Well, I mean, if he goes big on the turn, you might have a decision of just getting it in or folding, right?
Right. So the fact that I went check on the turn, in my mind, I'm like, this is never an overpair. And the sizing's so small that I gave him rope to, blast off on me. So
you call,
we make
right?
the call, yeah. And he flips his hand over real quick. He turns over ace jack off with no hearts.
Well, there you go. Well, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if your plan was to induce. It's not a bad induce bet. I mean, induce bets are hard to like actually pull off. We can always say like, oh, we can make an induce bet. And I remember live legend Lyman Poker, who used to do a podcast for us way back in the day, like 10 years ago. He plays a lot of PLO. He would talk about how in PLO, it's more extreme because in PLO, you have situations where there isn't really as much river play in PLO because the game is all draw, it's a drawy game, right? So you have a situation where you hold like top set in PLO, and it remains the nuts on the river, right? You've got top set and you've been betting and someone's been calling you the whole way, right? Big bets. And then the river, everything just misses and it gets checked to you. Well, of course you're going to bet the nuts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what's the best way to do it? And what he would say was he would sometimes try to put in some ridiculous reverse induce in position, like $20 into 1,000, and instead of the villain just snap folding, now the villain thinks, oh, I can take it away from him. You know what I mean? Something like that. But anyways, I appreciate the call. Thank you very much.